Hi, genealogy queens. How are you? I have been very busy. I've actually been on vacation for the past 2 weeks, and I'll be coming off of vacation soon. I haven't had really any time to make any videos. I've been up here in the north of Pennsylvania, and I've been traveling, so I've been doing a lot of moving around. Um, but I wanted to definitely catch up with you guys. Try to just kind of talk really about just things. I really didn't know what to speak about right now because, there's so much going on. But when we talk about genealogy, this is a genealogy channel. Um, we can go anywhere. I did find some interesting things when I was, not on YouTube, and some things that kind of just kind of stood out to me, right? So I wanted to talk about those things, but before I talk about those things, I just wanted to go into how my life has been. Again, I was on vacation. I've been on vacation for a long time now. I will be back up here for another like 3 days, 2.5 days. Then I'll be going back to where I was staying before. Um, and before that, I was working and doing other things like that. I now have 2 jobs. So I'm not at those jobs right now, but I do work them. Trying to learn how to kind of correlate that situation. But other than that, I've been fine. But I do want to do a lot more videos about just life in general and just talking, having a discussion, and just things. I know I said about a year ago that about 95% of my channel would be mainly genealogy, but then others would be on, let's say life or just discussions and things like that. So, yeah, so I just wanted to catch up with you guys. I hope everybody is doing well. Kind of pooped, like, I just feel kind of, like my head's kind of hurting, but I'll be all right. I think it's probably from the traveling and stuff. Not really ready for this drive back to where I'm going, but you got to get back to reality and back to things, you know. So let's get started. So I wanted to talk about the haplogroups U7 and the maternal haplogroup U7 and maternal haplogroup A2. I saw this in a couple of my relatives, and it was a reoccurring uh, haplogroup for certain ethnicities. So I found that haplogroup U7 was mainly showing up in my relatives who were of South Asian ancestry. And when you look up U7, reading about it, it says, abstract, human mitochondrial DNA haplogroup U is among the initial maternal founders in Southwest Asia and Europe, and one that best indicates matrilineal genetic continuity between the late Pleistocene hunter-gatherer groups and present-day populations of Europe. Now, as it is speaking about Europe, it is, as I have seen in a lot of my relatives who have Indian ancestry from India. So as it continues, it says, while most haplogroup U subclades or subclads are older than 30,000 years, the comparatively recent coalescence time of the extant variation of haplogroup U7, which I guess is 16 to 19,000 years ago, suggests that its current distribution is the consequence of more recent dispersal events, despite its wide geographical range across Europe, the Near East, and South Asia, which again makes sense. Um, Here we report 267 new U7 mitogenomes that, analyzed alongside 100 published ones, enable us to discern at least 2 distinct temporal phases of dispersal, both of which most likely emanated from the Near East. The earlier one began prior to the Holocene, 11.5 thousand years ago, towards South Asia, while the later dispersal took place more recently towards Mediterranean Europe during the Neolithic, 8,000 years ago. These findings imply that carriers of haplogroup U7 spread to South Asia, like I said, and Europe before the suggested Bronze Age expansion of Indo-European languages from the Pontic, Caspian, steppe region. So it makes sense, when I looked into it and I found out about U7 and that U7, was somehow affiliated with South Asia. It made a lot of sense on exactly what was going on with that. So when I go to A2 with the mitochondrial DNA there, or the maternal, it was very interesting because I couldn't really remember why I looked up A2, but I realized that it had dealings with Native American ancestry. So it says, reading this, the six founding Native American mothers. If you're interested in DNA, Native American history, or genetic genealogy, then you're undoubtedly heard of a new paper from Plus One called whatever. Yeah, it's just something else, right? So it says that something about complete Native American mtDNA genomes. And I guess in the abstract it says, I guess they did a study. And it says, in this study, a comprehensive overview of all available complete mitochondrial DNA, mtDNA genomes of the four Pan-American haplogroups A2, B2, C1, and D1 is provided by revising the information scattered throughout gene bank in the literature and adding 14 novel mtDNA sequences. I find that funny because literally before making this video, I actually was looking at a video that one of my Native American friends put up about his Bolivian friend, and her maternal haplogroup was D1. So I think that's really interesting how that kind of took place, and especially when it talks about it here. I think that's really cool. So when it says the phylogenies of haplogroups A2, B2, C1, and D1 reveal a large number of sub-haplogroups, but suggest that the ancestral Beringian populations contributed only 6 successful founder haplogroups to these haplogroups. So it says all Native American mtDNA can be traced back to the 5 haplogroups called A, B, C, D, and X. More specifically, Native American mtDNA belongs to sub-haplogroups that are unique to the Americas and not found in Asia or Europe. A2, B2, C1, D1, and X2A, with minor groups C4C, D2, D3, and D8, D4, H3. Based on the study, the A2, B2, C1, and D1 groups are estimated to have developed between 18,000 and 21,000 years ago. So that's interesting. That's very interesting. I've never really looked into haplogroups. I've never been one to really do that. Like, I've looked at them, but I've never researched them. But as I kept looking through my relatives and I was looking at, how that went, I was like, oh, wow, well, let me really look into this because maybe it'll add up and make some sense. Now, I don't particularly have these haplogroups. Now, C1 with the Native American haplogroup seems interesting because, hold on 1 second. When I go to sign into my 23andMe, which is really where I get the haplogroup, because I don't really think Ancestry does haplogroups. Maybe they do, I don't know. I've never seen them do it. If I go to my haplogroup for my mom and I go to my Ancestry, my maternal haplogroup, I don't think it has anything to do with what we talked about. Yeah, it's L1C2 to L1C2A. So nothing to do with that, really. But if I go back and it said something about, no, it didn't, no, nothing about that, but very interesting, actually, interesting stuff. So, yeah, I just kind of wanted to talk about that really quick before I just signed off, because I just felt like it was very interesting. That's kind of all I wanted to really look into for this video. I do plan to do another video, and I will get more into that. So I will see you guys and talk with you guys later. All right, bye guys.